Okay, so can you just start the
I am
video
now
now?
recording.
Yeah. Oh, Bante is not here. Let me admit him. So that's great. I'm the co-host. I can admit then.
Good. That would be nice. Can you make them co-hosts?
Good afternoon, Bante.
Good afternoon, Bante. It's Mary
Can you
Helen.
hear us?
I think he's frozen.
Bante, can you hear us? I think you muted.
He's not muted.
Yeah. Oh,
He
okay.
has no sound. Bante, if you can turn off, log out, turn off your computer and log back in, that usually fixes my sound.
No, he's probably okay. Oh,
I'm gonna admit
Bante
Bante.
just have to put on the.
Yes. No, you're not. We're going to be starting
There's people waiting, Kim.
I think it's good to let all the people in. It's
Okay, I'll let Kim do that. Dhamadipa, I have two questions.
Yes.
On the schedule, at one point it says Vin Ji Wei or Vin Jin Chuan. Would they be spotlighted one after the other? Not both at once.
When they come on, we'll have to see whether they are together on one feed or on separate feeds, because I didn't quite get a response yet as to which one
Okay.
of the two
So
feeds.
maybe at that
They may
point,
be just on one feed, but they have asked to go third in the speaking order. I don't know if you saw that email, Mary Helen. So
No.
Reverend CJ will be the first of the three host temples to speak. And then
And who is CJ? What's the name on your list?
Berkeley Buddhist Temple.
Temple. Oh yeah, Reverend CJ Dunford.
Reverend CJ has Reverend
Yeah,
CJ
so that'll
on
be
the
one.
screen. Okay.
Got it.
Got it. Great. And then so Reverend CJ will go first, and then Hosan Alan Sanaki from Berkeley Zen Center will be the second of the three temples.
Okay. And
And then Dharma Master Jinwei and Jin Chuan, they will speak third, because then it will move directly into the 3 steps in a Bow mindful movement at their temple.
So we'll find out if they're on the same screen.
okay, I will admit all now, Aya. Okay.
I have one more question, Aya. Can I ask it?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
At the end, how long to wait to end the meeting? Let people chat or just end it after the...
No, I mean, I think after Bante's final blessing chant and any last closing words that he might want to say, I think it's fine to just end it.
I will end when Bante is done. Thank you. That's all my questions.
You might want to chat, Mary Ellen, right before the end. You might want to chat to everyone the link to the donation page.
That's why I'm seeing everyone, because I'm the host. Okay, I can do
Okay, Mary Helen, I will admit all now. Okay, it's 2 o'clock.
And Kim, that link is BuddhistGlobalRelief.org/donate.
Yeah.
Good. I'll check that. I'll go online and check that.
Okay. So there's one more person waiting there, Kim. You might want to go ahead and admit them.
Okay.
So I was just going to make an announcement as the admin person. Hello, welcome. I'm muting everyone on entry. You can unmute yourself when it's your turn, or if you wish to say something, although there is no discussion period in this. And you can chat, all your chats should be coming to me if you have a question. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mary Helen. So I'm just going to allow another moment or two, as it looks like we have a few people who are just now arriving.
Kim, can you make the co-hosts?
No, only the host can make co-host, Mahel. I think we're okay now, Mahel, and we don't need to make more co-hosts.
No, we have to
I think we're good.
to the people who are presenting.
When they speak, they can just unmute and speak, Mahel, and they don't have to be co-host, right?
Well, there was someone who wanted to be co-host, so he could, I forget why we talked about it.
Okay.
The
Yeah,
person
but I
who's
think
singing.
we're okay now. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yep.
That
When
sounds
we get
good.
there, if it's needed, we'll do it at that time.
That sounds
So
good.
can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we
Great.
can.
Wonderful. So
I
there's some
put my
more
slide
people to come in.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Ozan, we can hear you well. Thank you. Wonderful. Okay, so
Hello.
people are still arriving, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the Action to Feed the Hungry, the Berkeley Action to Feed the Hungry. This, as you know, is an online event in support of Buddhist Global Relief. And, you know, in previous years, I and many of you have been involved in supporting BGR at this time of year in the fall, when there were a variety of walks taking place where we'd gather together and actually walk together. But for this year, for safety, we are gathering online. So this is our Bay Area gathering, and my name is Ayadamadipa, and I'm here at Aloka Vihara Forest Monastery here in Northern California, together with Ayananda Bodhi and Ayaniyanika, and some of the other nuns from our monastery will be joining me in a little while. We're here in the library, as you can see. So I really want to thank you for being here today in support of Buddhist Global Relief, an organization which is primarily focused on alleviating hunger and poverty around the world and in our local areas, including Berkeley. And we'll hear a little bit more about that later. But what I want to say is this particular event today is an opportunity for us to get together and talk about how we can take compassionate action to address some of the suffering that's happening in the world, some of the difficulties. And so we begin by acknowledging that it is a difficult world and that the resources are not evenly distributed, and people suffer as a result. And it is possible for us to address that. And BGR is a vehicle for doing that. And we are gathered together here to do our part toward that goal. And I want to say that even in a world that is as confused and as crying out as the world that we live in today, we can make a difference. We are making a difference. And I can't imagine a world that would be lacking in this kind of kindness. So welcome again, and know that that we'll hear a little bit more as well about Buddhist Global Relief and the kinds of work that they are engaging in and supporting in a little while. But I want to say that I myself have been involved with BGR for a number of years, And one of the things that impresses me most about them, about the work that we're supporting here, is how many lives are touched. Tens of thousands of people's lives are improved with the resources that BGR stewards. So we'll hear from those folks as well, the folks who are the recipients of this support. But before that, I want to read a little bit from the mission statement of BGR, just one little line from the mission statement, because I think that that will help to frame our day here together, our gathering here together. It says, our hope is that when their nutritional needs are met, when the nutritional needs of the people who benefit from the BGR projects, the projects that BGR is funding. Our hope is that when their nutritional needs are met, they will be able to actualize their fullest potential for goodness and meaning in their lives. So that is a beautiful aspiration, and one that I think you'll hear today is in the process of being fulfilled, is in the process of being acted on. And so just to say a little bit about our schedule before I pass it on to our speakers. So today we're going to hear from our 3 host temples in Berkeley, leaders from our 3 host temples in Berkeley. And my deepest gratitude to those folks and to their communities who have supported BGR for a number of years and are again supporting us today. And after that, then we'll have some mindful movement. So this relates to the aspect of the walk, what used to be the walk, and we'll say a little bit more about that and share some video and some photos. And after that, then we'll hear from Bhante, from Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi, who is, of course, the founder of BGR, and also from Kim Behan, the executive director. Then from our recipients, and then some closing words. So we'll aim to end in about 2 hours or so, and I hope that you will enjoy the good Dhamma that we're going to share here today, and that hope that BGR is fostering. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and transition over to our temple representatives. So we have, as I said, 3 anchor temples there in Berkeley, California, and they are Berkeley Buddhist Temple, Berkeley Zen Center, and Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. So we'll hear from each of them in turn. And this right here before you is Reverend C.J. Dumford at Berkeley Buddhist Temple. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. Reverend C.J. is the Tokudo Minister's Assistant there at the Berkeley Temple, and is going to share some reflection with us. And yes, so we look forward to hearing from you, CJ.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here and to be able to speak on behalf of my temple. I've been a part of the Walk to Feed the Hungry for, I think, the past 5 years. Last year I was out of the country, so I couldn't participate, but I'm really happy to be here today. Buddhist Global Relief really does some wonderful work, and I'm happy that our temple can be supportive of that. We'd like to express our gratitude for all of the hard work that you do, and this work is of Buddhist Global Relief is fundamentally tied to the Buddhist teachings of our interdependence, that if one of us is suffering from hunger or poverty, a lack of access to food or education or clean water, then we're all affected. Recognizing our interdependence is quite important across many schools and sects of Buddhism. In Jodo Shinshu, our founder Shinran, who lived in 12th and 13th century Japan, and his teacher Honen and their community of monks recognized the fundamental value of all of our lives that we share. Shinran expresses this concern in discussing the universal compassion of Amida Buddha. He says that good people, bad people, noble and low are not differentiated in a vow of the Buddha of unhindered light, in which the guiding of each individual person is primary and fundamental. He then goes on to identify with the marginalized in society, stating those who are cast aside, the low, and those whose very humanity is called into question are none other than we. As humans, it's important for us to recognize that the unfair struggles that so many face are also our responsibility to address, because their suffering is something that, in reality, we all share. This fact is why it is so important for us to look critically at political, economic, and social systems that so often cast aside the most vulnerable in our society. Our critique as Buddhists may come in the form of social justice work as leaders, or could come as volunteering and otherwise working for organizations that seek to empower and assist the poor and marginalized. Or it could be through providing economic support to organizations like Buddhist Global Relief. Thank you for all of your support to Buddhist Global Relief and for all of the hard work that you do that recognizes our interconnectedness and helps to empower those who are so carelessly cast aside in our world. If you would put your hands together to express gratitude for the words of our founder, Shinran, I will close with the passage that I shared just a moment ago. Good people, bad people, noble and low, are not differentiated in the vow of the Buddha of unhindered light, in which the guiding of each and every person is primary and fundamental. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reverend Sujay. Thank you so much for sharing that. So at this time, I would like to introduce our next speaker from Berkeley Zen Center. This is Hosan Alan Sanaki. And Reverend Hosan, or Hosan Sensei as he's sometimes known, is the Vice Abbot there at Berkeley Zen Center. And he is going to share a reflection with us and perhaps some of his music. So, Mayor Helen, if you could spotlight Hosan, thank you.
Thank you, Hayadamadeepa, and greetings, everyone. I will sing a song, and it'll stay as in following up on Reverend CJ will stay in Mahayana territory, even though there really is no distinction among the paths. What I was thinking of, and I gave a talk this morning, about 30 years ago, my first trip to Thailand, I was at an International Network of Engaged Buddhists conference, and we had the great fortune of being in the presence of Mahagosananda, who was at that time the Sangharaja of Cambodia, the patriarch of the Cambodian order. And he was a remarkable person who combined qualities of steel with the joy and lightness that made him appear to be walking about 3 inches off the ground. Some of you may have met him. So at this conference, which was attended by quite a few monks and nuns, and then people from the West, lay people from Asia, Mahagosananda took the seat and he began by questioning us. He said, you know, in this kind of archetypal, I would say archetypal Zen way, but maybe it's archetypal Buddhist way. He asked us, what's the most important thing? And people took about 20 minutes to respond, and he just kept pressing, you know, taking refuge in the three treasures, honoring your teacher, keeping the precepts, following the Eightfold Path, recognizing that all beings are Buddha. And every person who responded, he shook his head and said, nope, nope. And finally, he said, okay, I'm going to tell you. The most important thing is eating. And then he gave a Dharma talk on that, which I'm not going to do here. But he also spoke about the necessity for us to eat time. In other words, we should be eating time rather than letting time eat us. And what I would say is that for the people that Buddhist Global Relief and that other services are meeting, they don't necessarily have time. That the urgency of real physical hunger, shall we say, trumps time. And the realities of that hunger are staggering, as I'm sure you'll hear. There are more than 800 million people who go to bed hungry every night in the world, and another equal number who are right on the margin of malnutrition. Most of these are in the developing world, but 40 million of them are here in the United States. 40 million. And around the world, every day, 25,000 people die of malnutrition and hunger, and 10,000 of those are children. So what I would say in response to that quotation that was read at the beginning from Bhikkhu Bodhi, I would say until their nutritional needs are met, beings, our brothers and sisters, will have great difficulty in fulfilling the highest aspirations and capacities. And so that's why I feel it is our responsibility to feed them and not to turn away from them. So this is the song that I'm going to sing you here is taken from chapter 20 of the Lotus Sutra. And it's about the Bodhisattva never disparaging. And his practice is never to turn away from suffering beings, no matter how they treat him. There's a book called the Lotus Sutra that you really ought to know about. A holy book that has the power to remove all fear and doubt. Oh, I forgot something. Excuse me. Can I share the screen? Yes. But wait, I've got to open it. I'm sorry. I should have been more organized.
That's all right, Chris.
The host has to allow Alan to share the screen. There's, on the bottom line, there's a share screen button.
Right.
But I think the host has to give you permission to share.
That may be. Let's see if it works.
We did.
No, it worked. It worked. But what I want to share with you is is this chorus so you can sing.
Great.
Okay. There's a book called the Lotus Sutra that you really ought to know about. A holy book that has the power to remove all fear and doubt. And this book tells the story of a man who means the world to me. He could just as well have been a woman, except for male hegemony. So they call him the Bodhisattva never disparage, the Bodhisattva never despise. And I'm making it my life's ambition to see the world through his pure eyes. Now please mute yourselves and sing along. I will never disparage you or keep you at arm's length, where you only see your weaknesses, I only see your strength. I would never despise you or put you down in any way. Because it's clear to me, I can plainly see you'll be a Buddha someday. I love you. Now the Bodhisattva, never disparaging, lived countless kalpas in the past, in the time of the counterfeit Dharma, and he was something of an outcast, because the monks and nuns of his time, they were noted for their arrogance and vanity. And these were the folks who exercised great power and authority. But my boy, he never concerned himself if they treated him like a freak. He just bowed to everybody equally, and these are the words he'd speak. I will never disparage you or keep you at arm's length, where you only see your weaknesses, I only see your strength. I would never despise you or put you down in any way, because it's clear to me, I can plainly see you'll be a Buddha someday. I love you. He never read or recited the scriptures much. He only liked to practice respect. But the monks and nuns of his time, they didn't mean it like you might expect. Instead, they cursed him, and they reviled him, and they wished that he would go, because they all had self-esteem issues, like everybody else I know. So they beat him and pelted him with clubs and stones. They tried to drive him away, but he would just run off to a safe distance, and then he'd turn around and say, I would never disparage you or keep you at arm's length, where you only see your weaknesses, I only see your strength. I would never despise you or put you down in any way, because it's clear to me, I can plainly see you'll be a Buddha someday. I love you. And so it went on for years and years. He was a target of scorn and abuse. But still our hero, he shed no tears, nor did he ever wonder, what's the use? Until he came to the end of his natural lifespan, he lay down fixing to die. And then he heard the Holy Lotus Sutra being preached up in the sky. And his life was extended for millions of years. He's living to this day. And in the pages of the Lotus Sutra, you still can hear him say, I will never disparage you or keep you at arm's length, where you only see your weaknesses, I only see your strength. I would never despise you or put you down in any way, because it's clear to me, I can plainly see you'll be a Buddha someday. Yes, it's clear to me, I can plainly see you'll be a Buddha someday. I love you. I love you.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ozan. Brings a smile. Very good. Did you have more, or
I'm done. That's all she wrote.
Excellent. Okay, so then the third and final group from our anchor temple at Berkeley Buddhist Monastery is going to share with us. These are Dharma Masters Jin Wei and Jin Chuan. Pardon me if my Chinese pronunciation is not ideal. And the Dharma Masters are going to share with us 3 steps and a bow, as well as give a reflection, Dharma reflection. And these are 2 bhikkhus in the Chan tradition there at Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. So we can go ahead and spotlight them and give them an opportunity to share with us.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. I'm actually here with three of the monks of the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery.
Aha.
We have Dharma Master Jing Fo, who's just, I think, probably lighting some incense. Dharma Master Jing Wei is actually in our forest monastery down in Boulder Creek, where there was just recently some fires. And
Oh.
I'm here in Berkeley Buddhist Monastery, named Jing Chuan. Your pronouncing was quite good. So we're very honored to be able to be here with everyone. This Berkeley Buddhist Monastery is also home to the Institute for World Religions. So we have religions from not just the various Buddhist faiths, but also from Catholics, Jewish, many different religions come through here to be part of our community. And so we're very happy to be able to come together with all our good friends online to support something so wholesome. I know Bhikkhu Bodhi, when he comes and he speaks at the 10,000 Buddhas, honestly, I look to my fellow monks and friends and go, I think he's a bodhisattva. You know, the way he talks about taking our spiritual path out into the world and making a difference, it's quite inspiring. But I'll keep that privately to myself. But what I wanted to share with everyone is a song that's similar to what Alan just saying. I thought it's very appropriate to this event, and I should share my screen as well here. This is written by Reverend Heng Shi, and he wrote it for a conference around eating, about healthy eating, and it's called I Have Enough. And although the lyrics seem very simple, it's actually, I think, speaks really true words, very important words for modern times, because oftentimes hunger comes from when we say we don't have enough and we need to take more from other people. So I'll just read it through one time, and then I invite you to sing along with myself, and then I'll invite Jing Wei Shi, who is down in our property in Boulder Creek, to also sing it one time. It's very simple, the tune is quite catchy, and I hope you can end up using it like a mantra to carry it with you throughout your day. So it goes, oops, sorry. 1 second. Oh. Okay. It's a little tricky here. Okay, I think you see my screen. It says, I have enough. I am grateful. Share the blessings. Hallelujah. Although we're a Buddhist community, but we're interfaith here too. May all be fed. May all things flourish. May all awaken. Bodhisvaha. So that's the Buddhist way to end a mantra. So I invite you to sing along once you got the tune, and then after I do it one time, I invite Dharma Master Jing Wei down in Boulder Creek to sing it one time. I have enough. I am grateful. Share the blessings. Hallelujah. May all be fed. May all things flourish. May all awaken. Bodhisvaha. Maybe Jing Wei Shi, would you be willing to do it one time?
Sure. Can you hear me well?
Yes, clear.
Here from Redwood Forest. Okay, great. I have enough. I am grateful. Share blessings. Hallelujah. May all be fed. May all things flourish. May all awaken. Bodhisvaha.
Okay, so what we were thinking of sharing is just an explanation of this song, because I actually think, although it seems very simple, it actually goes very deep. So number one, this first line, I have enough. I think how often do we hear this in our society? Usually we hear, I don't have enough. I need more. You know, more, sorry, stop sharing. More, and it's endless. And so this line goes, I have enough, is a spirit of, you know, I don't lack anything. I'm complete. I don't have to keep, you know, craving for things outside to make me happy. The second line, which goes, I am grateful, is I think what happens when the heart feels like we have enough. right? Our heart opens up when we appreciate all that we have. We don't take things for granted. We don't get angry that, he has something that I don't have, or she has something that I don't have. So you know what? I'm happy they have what they have, but I have enough. I don't need more. The third one, I think, is what comes from a grateful heart and a full heart is that we want to share. So we say, share the blessings. Right? We can give to other people. And finally, hallelujah is the heart of joy, It's in the Christian tradition, but you could say it's maybe praising the divine, praising what's wholesome, connecting to the spiritual realm. We're not just our material bodies. There's something much more. And in the second verse, that begins, "All may all be fed," which is very appropriate to where we are today in the action to feed the hungry. You can see there's a change of perspective. We go from focusing on ourselves, as individuals, to all living beings. And Buddhist Global Relief really capture this. Our spiritual practice does not lead us away from the world. This world is a place we want to avoid. It's impure, so let's get out of here. But in fact, a much deeper connection with all things that comes from a heart of kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. You could say the Brahma Viharas. And I've done an exercise recently that I found really inspiring. And I think if people are willing to do it, for those online, is to just put in the chat box somebody you care about or something you care about. If you're willing, maybe I'll just give people a moment. If you just can willing to type in the chat box and I'll just read them out. Somebody or something you care about. Maybe it's your parents. Maybe it's a loved one. Maybe it's your pet. Maybe it's Mother Nature. I don't know if people can actually type in the chat box. Go to the bottom of the screen. If you're willing to share kind of a couple of people or things that you wish to, you could say in the Buddhist tradition, dedicate merit to. Dedicate the goodness of our coming together, our generosity to those people.
Venerable,
Yes.
it's a wonderful invitation, and please, folks, do go ahead and chat, and then Mary Helen will be receiving the chats, and she can.
Oh, okay, great. So if you can put it in the chat box.
People won't be able to chat directly to you because of the way we have the program set up.
Okay, great. Okay, sorry.
But
So
no, it's fine. People can go ahead and chat to her, and then perhaps
okay.
maybe them out loud to them.
Okay, great. So we'll see them pop up. So I'll keep talking, and if you can just write your comments in, then I'll take a look at them and read a couple at the end, just to give that flavor. And I think that also goes into the bowing practice that we're going to do right afterwards, the 3 steps, 1 bow, is that this practice really connects when we think more than just of ourselves. So it goes to may all be fed. So when we are full, when we're grateful, when we're sharing, when we're connected to the divine, then our hearts and minds open up and we think of all beings. And we wish, as Alan just so eloquently said, what's the most important thing is that we get enough to eat. I think if we didn't have enough to eat, that's what would be on our minds. And so we really wish that living beings all get enough to eat. And we also wish that all living beings have a place to live, homes to return to, where my fellow monk, Dharma Master Jing Wei, down in our monastery in Boulder Creek, there have just been wildfires, and many of our neighbors don't have homes. They're still in hotels, hoping to find a way to come back, but there's no home to come back to, right? And we wish, may they be well, may they find a place to be safe. We wish that all beings are loved and cared for, because we all know that there's more than just the material body that needs to be cared for. There's our emotions, there's our spiritual well-being, that somebody somehow is being cared for in that way. And also I know what the Global Buddhist Relief does, our Buddhist Global Relief does, is education. So may all beings receive a good education that really prepares them for life. And finally, may all beings really have all the necessities of life. So after we have that, may all be fed. The next line in this mantra, if you wish, or this song is, may all things flourish. May all things flourish. This is, I think, mudita, sympathetic joy, a kind of rejoicing in the good fortune and happiness of other people. It's way better than jealousy and competition. I wish I knew this when I was a kid growing up, because so much time my life was spent in competition and comparing with other people, wanting what they had, thinking that somehow their success diminished my success. But instead, there's another way to be, that's saying, I wish for you to grow and excel. And I wish that you're truly happy and peaceful. Your happiness actually makes me even happier. And finally, the last line of this verse says, may all awaken. And this is, you could say, the power word in Buddhism, right? The Buddha is the awakened one. And so we wish everyone to wake up, to be free of delusion, free of the cage, the prison of our prejudices, our confusion. Because that's where our suffering ultimately comes from. Simply not seeing clearly. When we see the interconnectedness of all things, then a lot of our, you could say, problems in ourselves, the difficulties and problems in our society would fall away. You know, people would be able to distribute the resources that we have around the world to not just have a couple people have enough, but have everyone have enough. And the final line goes, Bodhisvaha. And this is how we end our mantras. And it often, I was explaining the meaning is, may it be so. May it be so. Although I think if you were to actually have the Sanskrit, it maybe has a slightly different meaning. But in our tradition, we say it's, may it be so. May this come true. So this is a sincere wish, wishing that, you know, we have enough and that all beings are fed. Okay, so that's just what we had to share in terms of the Dharma reflection. I wish everyone, if you can take that verse and carry it in your hearts. I'll put it one more time on the screen. And next we're going to describe just 3 steps, 1 bow. So let me, okay, let's see the chat. And I'm going to read a couple of what people have written here as their dedication. My husband, my long-lost sister. Lucienda said, somebody said, oh, the world, all sentient beings, the earth. My teacher, Sojin May Weitzman. People, animals, and all living beings affected by the wildfires. My husband, Andonidila. My friends affected by the fire. My husband, my long-lost sister, dogs and cats, the elderly, especially those who are alone at this time. My lovely daughters, Jaya and Isabella, my beloved departed mother, my many teachers and mentors, my mom and dad, my cousin Ellen, fighting cancer, Roger, dedication to my friend Celine and her father. And it goes on and on. My teachers, my good knowing advisors, women, children, all people who live under oppression, may they be liberated from their oppression and reach their potential. I dedicate the merit and compassion to all those in hunger. May food and nourishment find you. Beautiful. Okay, so those are people's sincere wishes. And I think this next pastime of what we're doing here is a wonderful gesture of how we can connect to them. Through how? Through a practice of humility. For those who have participated in these events in the past, there's usually a walk. It's usually called Walk to Feed the Hungry, and this time it's called Action to Feed the Hungry. And so, because this year we can't go outside due to the pandemic, when the kind of maybe organizing group met a little bit, we thought, how about we have some mindful movement? And one idea was sharing one practice we do here at the monastery, 3 steps and a bow. And this, you could say, is a journey inward. Clearly there's a pilgrimage as you walk, but there's the same time this journey goes inside. And a journey is mostly one of letting go. And when I think when a place becomes sacred, it's because we're able to let go of ourselves and open up to something much more profound than just ourselves, just our own individual desires. Connect to the well-being of those we care for, and maybe, if we expand our hearts even more, to all living beings. So I invite you, if you're willing, to find a little bit of a space to join in terms of bowing practice. I was going to demonstrate so that people can see how to bow. I won't go into a lot of detail because we only maybe bow for about 8 or 9 minutes, so it won't be for very long. But it's a wonderful practice to be healthy and strong and get good exercise, as well as calming down the mind. And it's one of the few times of the day, if you bow, where your head and your heart, and you can see your hands and our body is more or less horizontal, flat on the floor. So let me just demonstrate. In our tradition, what we do is we stand usually with our feet in a V shape, heels closer together, toes apart. And our palms are placed in front of our chest, all the fingers pushed together. And then when we bow, we slowly rock forward on our toes. And then put our hands down into the center here. And then put our left hand in front, right hand in front. And as we put our head down in the middle, we turn our hands over. There's a sense of, you could say, touching the feet of the Buddha. And then we come back up. Hands push up, right hand back in the middle, left hand comes up. We push back to standing on our feet. So people who have done yoga, it's kind of like doing a sun salutation. You come from a standing pose, and you come down, you can say a child's pose. Right hand, left hand, right hand, head in the center, turn your hands over. You come back up. Right hand, left hand, and then back. So what we'll do here is we're going to move our camera back a little bit, and Jing Fosher and myself will bow in a circle here in front. Just for maybe 6 or 7 minutes, we invite everyone to please join in if you wish, if you feel comfortable. Otherwise, you can just sit quietly and meditate as well. Or just, you could say, watch our breath, be mindful of our body. But what we found is this practice is a wonderful way to connect our bodies with our hearts and our minds. I'll hit a bell if people want to follow the bows that we're going to do. But basically, when we bow down, I'll hit the bell one time. And then when we come back up, I'll hit the bell again to stand up. And we'll bow very slowly. When we go back, bow down, we'll probably be down on the ground for maybe 10 seconds, and we'll come back up. Okay, so people are in a place that you can bow. You can stand straight. Let me move my camera back so you can see our whole hall. Okay, Jing Fosher, 可以了。好。Okay. So, first bow. Stand back up. So first step, second step, third step. take her final bow. Okay, so that concludes our 3 steps, 1 bow. Actually, I just realized that that's the practice of the Bodhisattva in Alan Sanaki's song, Bodhisattva Never Disparaging. His primary practice was bowing and respecting all living beings. Okay?
Thank you so much, Venerables. And Venerable Jinwei up there in the mountains. Wonderful. So we're here. I want to also introduce Aya Santachita has joined us, and Aya Ahimsa. So this is our full complement of bhikkhunis here at Alaka Vihara. And so what I wanted to share in terms of mindful movement is that we recently went on an outing, and Aya Santachita is going to talk to you about that. We're going to share some photos of an outing that we recently did here to raise awareness and funds for BGR. So just give me 1 second. There we go. Move that out of the way. All right.
So last Monday, our small community, we went on a walk at around Lake Jenkinson, which is about 7 miles up the road from Aloka Vihara. It's a very beautiful. It's actually a human-made lake, but it's very beautiful. And if it's not a weekend, then there is almost no people there. So we had the whole lake to ourselves, and we walked about 9 miles all around the lake. And there's now a few photos from that walk. That was our group. In the pink t-shirt is Maria, our kitchen manager.
Yeah.
And then Aya Jnanika next to her, and Aya Nanabodhi, Aya Ahimsa, and Aya Dhamadipa and myself on the bench in the back.
Thank you.
And then we had also one of our long-term guests with us. She's just in quarantine, so that's why she wears a mask.
Mhm.
9 miles of trail around the lake, and it was very beautiful. And then we had a little picnic at one point, and you can see the water is quite receded here. But then, once the snow starts to melt in the early summer, late spring, it's gonna fill up again. It's a very beautiful lake, and the trees come all around, to the edge of the water. The water is very clear. It's a drinking water reservoir as well. And then at the end of the walk, some of us were swimming in the lake. It's lovely water, not too hot, not too cold, just perfect.
Great. And so this was an event that we shared on our social media channels, again, as an raising awareness for BGR, for this action happening today, and as a way of encouraging folks to make donations in support of today's action and in support of BGR in general. So it was a lovely day. We went out and really enjoyed ourselves. And do you want to tell them about what happened with my lunch?
Yes.
Tell them.
Okay, may I?
Sure.
And what was really very funny
We'll
is
go
that
back.
Venerable Dhamadipa just had her bhikkhuni ordination actually 2 days before the outing. So she was a little bit kind of still under the weather from all of that, rather big event for our small monastery.
Or dazed with joy, perhaps.
Yeah, dazed with joy. Yeah. And she forgot her lunch in the car. So when we arrived for the picnic, she didn't have any food. She truly didn't have anything to eat. And then she was just letting us know, and then all of us, gave her part of our lunch, and that's how she had actually a lot to eat in the end.
Yes, yes. So the Dhamma of sharing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, and I would like to thank one more time Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi, who has been very instrumental for, us actually, becoming bhikkhunis in 2011. When we came from a lineage which didn't really allow bhikkhunis, and then, we weren't quite sure, is it okay to leave that lineage and so on and so forth. And Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi has, supported us to make the right decision and feel really kind of informed about what we were doing. And because of that, our whole support foundation also was very much behind it. And now we have 5 bhikkhunis meanwhile. So it has worked, Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi. Thank you so much.
Lovely. And so Maria, who you just saw a moment ago, our kitchen steward, has just come also to join us here for today's event. Beautiful. So at this point, I would like to introduce Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi, who we could spend I could spend quite a bit of time on that because of his many accomplishments. But what I want to primarily say is he is a very respected practitioner, teacher, translator, and Bhante was also the founder of BGR. BGR was started because his students were so inspired by his teachings that they wanted to find a way to put those teachings of Bhante and of the Buddha into action. And so here we are all these years later. And I think that is plenty to say at this point, and I'm going to invite Bhante to please give his Dhamma reflection at this time.
Okay, so first let me begin by thanking all of you who have contributed to organize this Berkeley-based action to feed the hungry. And those of you who have the representatives from the different temples and monasteries who have been speaking here this afternoon. First, I just want to say a few words about how Buddhist Global Relief started. It began in a sense, the seed of it was planted in 2007 when I was invited by the Buddhist magazine Buddha Dharma to write an editorial essay. And I wrote that essay, in writing that essay, I expressed the need for Buddhists to look upon their Buddhist commitment as involving something more than just the silent and quiet practice of meditation, but to find ways, concrete ways to express compassion in action in dealing with some of the momentous problems that confront us in the contemporary world. And I had no intention in writing that essay of forming an organization, but when the magazine was published and some of my students in New Jersey read the magazine and read the essay and started to discuss amongst themselves the need to take some kind of action to put the challenge presented by the essay, to put it into practice. And so we had several rounds of discussions, and then we decided to form a Buddhist relief organization, but taking originally a very grandiose mission of addressing the overwhelming social and economic problems confronting human beings around the globe, something like that. But then we realized that was just too broad and too general. And so we had to find a more specific point of focus. And I was the one who proposed as the point of focus dealing with the problem of chronic hunger and malnutrition. And I haven't spoken very often about the reason why I proposed that particular idea, that particular mission. But this is rooted in an experience that I went through during my early years as a monk in Sri Lanka. The temple where I was ordained and where I spent my first 3 years as a monk was located in a poor part of the country near a poor village. And at that time, Sri Lanka the government was undertaking certain kinds of economic experiments, which created a lot of havoc, economic havoc for the people, and particularly in the poor, remote village areas. And so during that period, for several years, I was getting very, very poor quality food. The breakfast was just a thin rice gruel, sometimes with some cream crackers. And the lunch was primarily rice. It was a good kind of rice, the red country rice, but with just some watery curries on the side. And I don't feel a hunger after just a few days, but when I'm trying to subsist on a diet like this, day after day, week after week, over time, I felt my body getting depleted of all of the nutrients that it needs to sustain itself. So I could even feel like the cells of the body crying out for vitamins and minerals and protein, but it was not getting the food, the nutrients that it needed. It reached a point even where occasionally I would keep my flip-flops, the rubber flip-flops in the corner of my kuti, my little hut. And occasionally I would look at those flip-flops and wonder, can I eat them? I realized that they were not edible. This came to an end after about 2 years when a monk from India came to stay at the temple where I was staying. And he taught me how to go on alms round. And so we would go on alms round to the surrounding villages, and each day we would collect quite an ample supply of food. And at that point, then my problem with hunger was eliminated. But this made me understand at a very, very concrete and visceral level what it means to go through year after year of persisting deprivation, food deprivation. And I don't want to say that the kind of hunger that I was experiencing, the kind of malnutrition that I was experiencing, is comparable to that which is experienced by poor people in South Asia, Africa, Latin America, and so on. But it gave me some idea of what it is like to have to live with persistent hunger and malnutrition. So based on that experience, and I propose the idea of making hunger and malnutrition the focal point of BGR's mission. And I came to see that what underlies the mission of Buddhist Global Relief, though we have this specific mission of addressing the problem of chronic hunger and malnutrition, but what underlies it is a quality that I like to use the word to characterize this, the word to characterize it, not so much simply compassion, but I like to qualify it as conscientious compassion. And I put that qualifier in front of the word compassion, conscientious, to imply, to suggest that it means that one takes on a sense of responsibility for the well-being of others. And one takes on that sense of responsibility motivated by compassion. And by compassion here, it's not just a feeling of pity or sympathy for others, but I like to identify this compassion with a sense of solidarity, that you feel a deep empathy or even identity with others, so that one could see in those who are suffering from hunger, malnutrition, deprivation in various ways, one could see them as reflections of yourself, so that the barriers of distinction that you draw between yourself and others fall away, and you recognize that when others are hungry, I am hungry. When others are suffering the consequences of malnutrition, I am suffering those consequences of malnutrition. And so in this way, one is developing a kind of universal consciousness, a consciousness that sees that the well-being of other people is at the same time the well-being of yourself. The happiness of other people is the happiness of yourself. And so we take the specific point of focus is on helping people emerge from chronic hunger and malnutrition. But an important sort of byproduct of that, and I'm glad that Aya Dhammadeepa mentioned that in her introductory presentation, was to point out that ending hunger and malnutrition is not just an end in itself, but it is for the purpose of enabling the people who are benefited by these projects to enable them to flourish and to unfold their own capacities, their own inherent capacities for goodness and meaning in their lives. And so when you're afflicted by hunger and malnutrition, you can do very little but think about food. This is the experience that I went through back in Sri Lanka in the period 1973, 1974, when the supply of food dwindled and I was just living on a subsistence diet. As soon as I would finish a meal, the meal would be digested after about 2 hours. I would be thinking, almost obsessed by thoughts about the meal that's going to come the next day. And so I could understand that people who are suffering from hunger and malnutrition are living in very, very, probably even graver condition than I was. So their whole life revolves around obtaining sufficient food, and they don't have the ability to do anything else. People who are afflicted with hunger and malnutrition might have so many hidden talents, so many potentials, so many capacities. They could be Einsteins, but they're unable to unfold that potential because their body is not receiving the nutrients that it needs, and the mind is just completely riveted on the need for food. But it's when you get sufficient food that then you can develop the higher faculties of the mind. And we see that as a guiding purpose of BGR, to help those who are assisted to emerge from hunger, to overcome malnutrition, to start developing their talents, developing their capacities. And so an important, we call this, another aspect of BGR's mission is not only to provide people with food assistance, but also to provide them with education and vocational training, particularly girls and women. And Kim is going to speak about that more when she is called to give her presentation. But we see these two aspects of relief going hand in hand, helping people overcome hunger and malnutrition, to be able to live healthy lives, to gain the strength, their inherent strength of their bodies, but to provide them with education to develop the faculties and capacities of the mind, and thereby to live lives that will be meaningful to themselves and enable them to bring benefits to others, to their families, and to their communities. And so I think when and especially I want to emphasize the need that this action to feed the hungry that we're holding this afternoon is in fact a fundraising project. And so I want to encourage people to give and to give generously, remembering that when you are giving to support BGR, we are not benefiting personally from those donations, but we're using some 90% of the donations to support these projects which are helping people all around the world, from Vietnam, Cambodia, Mongolia, through South India, through several countries in Africa, the Kenya, Malawi, Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon, to Latin America and to some of the poor sections of the United States, helping them to overcome hunger and malnutrition and to lead really meaningful, beneficial lives, lives that will spread the benefit to their wider communities. And so just by supporting BGR, you are really helping the world community and expressing that sense of conscientious compassion or solidarity in action. So thank you very much for your attention and for joining us all today.
Thank you so much, Bhante. Thank you. Very good. So then this leads directly into some encouraging words and some more exploration and investigation of the work that BGR is doing. And this is going to be shared by Kim Behan. She is the executive director of BGR, the hardworking, I should say, executive director of Buddhist Global Relief. And she's been doing this for a number of years. And so Kim, if you would please share with us a bit more about the work that BGR is doing and the good that it's doing in the world.
Thank you so much, Aya, for organizing this event. And thank you, Venables and Dharma friends, for joining the Berkeley online gathering today. Before I introduce our project partners today, I would like to give a brief overview, which Bhante had already touched on, of the work of Buddhist Global Relief. Our mission is to combat hunger and malnutrition in poor communities around the world. And we implement our mission in 4 separate areas. We give direct food aid to those afflicted by hunger and malnutrition. We also promote the education of children, especially girls, and livelihood, vocational training of women, so essential in the fight against poverty. And we also support sustainable farming programs for small-scale farmers, many of them women, so they can provide for themselves and their families. In 2008, Venbo Bhikkhu Bodhi established Buddhist Global Relief, a nonprofit charity organization, and we started out with 3 projects. Today, we sponsor over 40 projects. Thanks so much to the generous support of our donors and supporters. As Bhante had mentioned, our projects take place in countries of Southeast Asia, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, through India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, African countries of Kenya, Cameroon, Uganda, Cote d'Ivoire, South and Central America, Peru, Brazil, Nicaragua, and right here in the US. We work with partners, many of them are small grassroots organizations operating underground in those countries. Today, we're joined by 2 of our partners, the Burma Humanitarian Mission, BHM, and the Bodhicitta Foundation. BGR partners with the Burma Humanitarian Mission since 2017 to support the education of children of backpack medics working in very dangerous zones in Myanmar. And we're honored to be joined today by Jennifer Zwick, the Executive Director of the Burma Humanitarian Mission, to share the impact of our partnership. So Jen, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome, Jen.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
May Helen, maybe we can spotlight Jen, and then I would be happy to share the PowerPoint. Please let me know when you're ready.
Oh, now is fine. Thank you. And thank you so much for having us. We're a very small nonprofit organization that started about 20 years ago, specifically to help backpack medics who were going into a conflict zone in Eastern Burma, now called Myanmar, to help villagers who were impacted by the violence of the Burma army. And over time, our programs have grown a little bit to try and help grassroots programs in the areas of healthcare and education, and some community development and empowerment, but always specific to Burma. And the program supported through BGR is really at the heart of what we do. The backpack medics we've been supporting for over 20 years. The children aren't able to live in the villages because the medics travel. Would you go to the next slide, please? And
Can you see, Jen?
what?
Can you
Yes.
see the slide?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Basically, in this slide, I just want to talk a little bit about the background on why backpack medics are working there and why we support them. Burma was never really a country until it was colonized by the British Empire. And it consists of people with many different languages, different ethnicities, different spiritual traditions. And they, before the British came, they just lived, and they weren't a united country. When the British left after World War II, there's been a lot of unrest and different groups fighting with each other. The Burma Army specifically has tried to contain the country as Myanmar, and has been inflicting what we feel is genocide on the ethnic minorities of Burma. Most recently, people have been hearing about the Rohingya, but it's been happening since, gosh, for 70 years with ethnic groups in other parts of the country as well. The healthcare crisis is horrible. There were some of the worst maternal mortality rates, malaria rates in the world. And basically no healthcare available to people. So the backpack medics formed to go into the villages and provide primary healthcare, kind of in a barefoot doctor model. The medics are recruited from the ethnicities that they serve. Most often, the younger medics are young adults in the villages who are nominated by the village leaders to go and become trained to become medics. And then they go through a 9-month program, and then they're partnered with other more senior medics in a team, and they travel from village to village helping people. And they've had a really incredibly good impact on the villages. Malaria has gone way down. Maternal mortality has been reduced. Right now, Burma Humanitarian Mission supports 30 of the 114 teams that are operating in Burma. And yeah, and I just, the villages, having had the opportunity to go into some of the villages in Karen State, which is in the far east of the country, they want to live in peace. They just want to have their community. One of the reasons BHM got started was a group of us made friends with migrants and refugees from Burma in California, and they said, you should just go visit. And when we did, we were just amazed by the difference in the communities and how people live. I was getting a master's degree in architecture at the time, and I was, prepared to have my life be designing homes for rich people in Los Angeles. And we went into these villages, and the people there, when a young couple gets married, the village, people walk around and they choose a site in the village, and the community comes together and builds the young married couple a house. It is just so different from our world, where people spend decades of trying to earn income to, build this house, and there it's just something that is part of the community. It was life-changing, and to go and to get to see how people can live in this world that is just so beautiful. And so the backpack medics are basically keeping these communities alive. We hear so much about endangered species in today's world, but we don't hear as much about endangered cultures. And these are cultures that are in danger. And so it's been a huge honor, and with your support, to be able to help them. And our philosophy has very much been to partner with people in the way that they ask, and to provide the type of support that they need. And can we go to the next slide? I'm talking for so long. And one of the opportunities that came up that we were requested to help was to provide funding for the children of the backpack medics, and for a few other children who have been impacted and don't have a place that they can live safely in Burma, whether because the relatives are working with the medic teams, or because other factors, your parents having been killed or died. So sort of bigger picture, there's a hospital in Thailand to help the ethnic minorities in Burma. And the hospital, it's a field hospital run by Dr. Cynthia Mong. And a lot of people kind of congregated around that area. And they started a school called the Child Development Center, which was for the people who are working at the hospital to be able to provide education to the children in a way that's consistent with the cultures, rather than being a Thai cultured school. In addition, the Thai government does not allow the migrants from Burma to attend Thai schools. So there was a necessity for the school. Specifically with the partnership with BGR, you are supporting the children of the backpack medics so that they can attend the school. If we could go to the next slide, please. Since 2017, you've been providing the support for 50 to 55 students each year to be able to attend the Child Development Center. And I just cannot impress enough how it is providing the kids not only an education, the kids who graduate from the school will be able to sit to take the GED. They have the opportunity to go to college, but it's also giving them the chance to retain a connection to their culture, even though they are in Thailand. It's the school, they're taught to speak Thai and English, but they're also taught in their original language. They're taught the culture, their people's culture and history. And, the hope in the school is that the kids will be empowered to be able to go back into their villages as adults and help lead their communities. And so that is, in essence, the program that you all support. It's providing the food for the kids, also food for some of the backpack medics, which is a smaller piece of it, but their clothing, school materials, shoes, everything that is allowing them to have this amazing opportunity. Could we go to the next slides? And here I'll talk last. They're just some of the kids. I'm going to share the children, their stories. And Kim, you can just go through these at whatever speed you feel gives people the time to read them. So, well, the slide says it, but it's your support is making a huge difference to these kids, and these children, they're the future of Burma. I truly believe that this is the greatest hope for the future of stability in their country and their culture surviving. So you are making a difference, a huge difference, not just to these kids, but to the future of this little corner of the world. And we are so honored and thankful to be able to be part of this, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jen, for the beautiful presentation and for joining us today, Jen. We appreciate
Thank you
it very
so much for having me, Kim. This is such a wonderful event, and it's been such a blessing to just participate. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jen.
So Kim, I think you're also introducing the next
Yes,
part.
so at this point, I would like to introduce our next partner, the Bodhicitta Foundation. BGR partnered with Bodhicitta since 2015 to provide housing and education for girls and young women who came from some of the poorest regions in India. And many of them belong to the Dalit untouchable caste. We're very fortunate today to have Ayayeshi with us. Ayayeshi, thank you for joining us.
Hello, esteemed guests and Bhikkhu Bodhi. Thanks for having me. So you're ready for me to start? Is that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. There's a lot to
Would
say and
you
not a
like
lot of
me, would
time.
you like me to start the presentation now, Aya? Or you
I
like?
might just briefly talk about what we do and then we can dive in. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me know.
Yeah. So we work with some of the poorest and most oppressed Buddhists in the world, the people who previously belonged to the untouchable community, now ex-untouchable Dalit community. They were basically forced into slavery for thousands of years, working for no money in fields. And they experienced lynchings, gang rape, and so many forms of violence. And they converted to Buddhism in 1959, I think it was, or to escape the caste system. Our charity has been running for about 11 years in the slums of central India, where it's extremely hot in summer, like 48 degrees. And I originally went there to teach Buddhism, but I quickly realized that chanting would not be enough when children are dying of diarrhea and it would cost $2 to save a life. So, you know, when you see the work BGR is supporting, I can encourage you to donate, because it literally is saving lives. It's literally giving a child a chance for a future. And, you know, as Buddhists, we know that happiness is not just a personal matter, it's a communal matter. Our charity helps approximately 2,000 people per year, directly or indirectly, and we focus mainly on women and children, because the people most impacted by poverty, by injustice, and by hunger are women. We have a girls' home with 30 girls, and they're from all different areas in India, but many of them face you know, the girl is put last in the family. The women eat last, and the girls get less money for medical treatment, for education. And there are 50 million girl children missing in China and India in their population, simply for the crime of being born female. So if you want to address, you know, injustice, poverty, climate change, empowering a girl child with education and stopping child marriage is a key factor. In the world, 39,000 girls are married below the age of 18 every day. And India is fairly high on that list. 22% of Indian girls are married below the age of 18. But if you think that India is the second most populous country in the world, that's many children who are forced into adulthood before they're ready. You know, and if you stop child marriage, that girl's, you know, an educated girl will have less children. Her children will be 50% more likely to survive into adulthood, and they themselves will have less children and be more educated. So our girls' home takes girls from 15 to 25 and puts them in high school or university. They do courses in nursing and social work. Some of them have become lawyers to protect women with domestic violence issues or rape cases. Unfortunately, I think you've heard of that going on in India and all over the world. We also have a women's job training center where we train women in beauty therapy, computers, English, and sewing. And, you know, they can do that from home while they watch their kids. And, you know, as soon as a woman has her own money, she has an option to leave a marriage that may be abusive or forced into. And, you know, women invest money. A lot of research says women who invest money, who are given money, will invest it directly into their children's education and medical care, whereas men will invest less money into those things and more into kind of entertainment. We also have a food program that makes about 6,000 meals per year for undernourished children. We sponsor 55 children for school with books and bicycles and extra study and extra food, because, you know, without a growing brain, you can't achieve your potential. We also offer emergency ambulance, part-time counselling, legal support for poor women who can't afford their own lawyer. And we have 3 study centres, about 2.5 hours a day in 3 different slum areas in central India for, the public system in India is not very good, that sometimes the teachers don't turn up or they beat the children. So we sponsor these children and give them extra study support. So yeah, let's start the slides. Yeah, so this is one of our study centers. Yeah, so let's go to the next one. This is the computer training center for young people. We also sponsor young men as well. And the next one. Yeah, so this is our sewing school. And the next one. This is more of our study program. We also run programs, teaching children Buddhism, because they are Buddhists. We're not missionaries or anything. And their human rights. Yes, and the next one, please. This is one of our sponsored children in a tribal family. Their roof was rotten and falling in. So for $500 US, we helped them put on a new roof. And the next one, please. And this is our food program. So the children, because the rooms in the slum are so small, we do it in shifts and we feed the children every day, 5 days a week. And the next one, please. So many children in slums would just be living on 1 meal a day if they're lucky. These are 3 tribal children, and the smallest one was almost born in the back of our van. Yes, there's a child born every 1.8 seconds in India. And the next one, please. Yeah, so this is one of the girls we sponsor to go to school. She was going to be forced into a marriage, but we intervened, and now she's studying social work. And the next one, please. So recently, with COVID, 1,200 people a day are dying in India, unfortunately, because it's extremely crowded. And you can imagine, as soon as people are put into lockdown, they don't have an income. So a lot of people were literally starving. So we've been giving a lot of food to people. We've spent about $5,000 US so far giving out meals. And the next one, please. So this is a girl called Pratima. Her father was murdered by his family for land. Her mother is an uneducated maid who makes about $120 US a month. And we've been sponsoring her for about 6 years. She recently came in the top 5 in her year 10 class in a school of 13,000 children. She lives in a house with no electricity because her family who lives next door won't connect it for her, but we've given her lamps. You can see her bicycle there. We've also helped them with legal representation, and because our temple is nearby, they come and stay with us when they get threatened or feel unsafe, and they have a social life. They come to our festivals and human rights celebrations. So Pratima is doing very well as a result of your help, your amazing help. And next, please. She dreams of becoming a lawyer or a politician. These are children living on the street who have just been evicted from a slum. Ironically, the slum was demolished to make way for an engineering college. And the next one. So there's a lot of children who suffer from malnutrition in India, more than sub-Saharan Africa. That's got to do with bad sanitation more than lack of nutrition. So that's also an important part. This is us giving out clothing and food in the slum. You can see the way they're living. They live 500 people with one tap the water comes a few hours a day. And the next one. You can see where they're collecting water. They live in tin sheds. Can you imagine in the heat of summer? It's like an oven. And they're very much going to be affected by climate change. And the next one, just getting clean water, and shelter. This is one of the worst houses in the slum. This is one of the children we sponsor in that slum. And the next one. This is girls studying self-defense in our girls' home, because it's all about not just increasing something in their stomach, but giving them the skills to live a good life. And, you know, girls in our girls' home go back and do a few hundred hours of social work. So they go back to their villages and initiate programs to empower the women there, so that way they pay it forward what they've received. And the next one, these are girls in our girls' home, standing in front of the girls' home that we rent. We're currently in the process of buying land. And the next one, these are some of our cultural programs, because, you know, it's easier to give people a good message with sweet medicine. And the next one, this is in our girls' home. And the next one, this is just how most people live in India. You know, it's normal to share a room with 5 people. This is our temporary ordination program. You know, when you're living in a very crowded environment and there is alcoholism and violence, you know, to come and do a retreat can be a life-saving thing, you know, to have some life skills to transform your frustration and your tension. And the next one. That's it.
I think that's it, Aya.
Yeah. So I think I've probably said enough. And I just want to let you know that your support of our charity has been instrumental in us helping 2,000 people a year, and all of the children that we help. And it really, really does save lives. You know, we take people to hospital and it's really changing lives. So thank you. You made such an amazing difference. We're very grateful.
And thank you so much, Aya, for your wonderful contributions to the women and children of Nagpur, India.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I guess, Aya, that ends basically the project portion of the event. And now back to Aya Dhamadipa for the continuation of the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you, Ayeshe and Jennifer, for telling us a bit about these very important and uplifting ways that people are being helped very directly to improve their lives and to have less suffering. And so those are in places far from home. And part of the wisdom of BGR is that in addition to helping folks all over the world, each one of these gatherings, these community actions, whether it was a walk in the past or an action this year, also involves a contribution to a local charity that is aligned with the mission of BGR, and in our case, 2 local organizations. One is Clearview Project, and another one is the Alameda County Food Bank. And for that, I want to introduce Ms. Catherine Avila. She is here from the Alameda County Food Bank. Alameda County, for folks who may not know, is the county in which Berkeley is located. It's here in the Northern California Bay Area. And Catherine is going to tell us a little bit about the work that they do. She's the Food and Fund Drive Coordinator for the Food Bank. So welcome, Catherine. Please tell us a bit about what you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this invitation. Thank you also for taking your event and pivoting in a different direction so that you can still have great community participation to help the local community during these challenging times.
Yes.
I am reminded now more than ever that the good that we do for others is what makes all the difference at a local level, at an international level, and that if we want to have positive change, we need to take positive action. I'd like to give you a report about what we've been doing since the COVID pandemic crisis began. Since March, since the shelter in place, we have been going nonstop at the food bank. And because one of the pillars of our mission statement is that we believe that nutritious food is a basic human right, that has been and continues to be our North Star each and every day that we work to serve the community. In addition to being a public health crisis, we also know that this is an economic crisis. So at the food bank, we have been working to meet the challenges of these extraordinary circumstances as never before. Last year at this time, we were distributing enough food such that it would feed approximately 22,000 people each day. This year at the same time, our need has almost doubled, and we are distributing about 1 million pounds of food each week, which is the equivalent of feeding around 66,000 residents of Alameda County each day. In addition to the increased volume, we are also faced with the challenge of increased prices for food. We are now in direct competition with grocery stores, with big box change for the same commodities. And we've noticed an increase when it comes to purchasing our most needed items like protein, beans, rice. Some of those costs have gone up anywhere from 40 to 75%. But we are committed to being here for our community today and into many, many tomorrows. Before COVID hit, the Urban Institute data on Alameda County stated that 329,000 of Alameda County residents are deemed food insecure. Those are people who do not know where their next meal is coming from, who have insufficient food on a daily basis. And while we're actually too busy right now to be collecting the data since COVID, we know from the sheer volume of food that we are distributing each week, and also from feedback from our pantry partners, noting that more and more people are coming to use their services. We know that the need has increased tremendously, and we really do not see that slowing down anytime soon. We have over 200 existing agency partners, and we've brought on 34 new partners. We are coordinating with 11 school districts and have also innovated to create 4 drive-through food distribution sites, which are contact-free. And our goal has been to make food more accessible closer to where folks live in Alameda County. So we have gone countywide in increasing our food distributions in ways that we could not have imagined before. We have also had to innovate at the actual food drive itself. We are no longer doing food drives. We are relying on monetary donations at this time in lieu of those traditional barrel drives. Additionally, we are needing to purchase more equipment. If you've ever been to the food bank, you might know that it kind of looks about the size of a Costco, and yet every square foot of space that we can is being utilized to house food safely until such time that it's distributed to the community. And that's required that we hire on new talent, and also that we innovate in terms of logistics. And of course, that too is an expense. One of the things that we've learned from past emergencies, like the government shutdown or the wine country fires, is that even after the initial emergency is over, it takes a long time for folks to get back on their feet. And we know that since this crisis is twofold, both as a health crisis, but also knowing the economic devastation that is being impacted on our community, we know that it's going to take many, many months, years, for people to get back on their feet. But as such, we know also that we can never work in isolation at the food bank. We need our community more than we've ever needed it. And we know that one way to ensure that our neighbors are well fed is when community uplifts the community. It's going to take the support of so many who care to make sure that we stay true to our commitment, knowing that food is a basic human right for everyone in the world, everyone nationally, and certainly everyone right here in Alameda County. So on behalf of those we serve each day, I want to thank you for your compassionate action, for taking those steps to help people right here where we live and work. And we are very fortunate to count the Buddhist community among our supporters. We encourage you to continue walking this path with us, figuratively and literally, hopefully next year, so that those who need food don't have to worry about where the next meal is coming from. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Catherine. Really, I very much appreciate your sharing. And yes, we are walking this path together, just as you say, literally and figuratively. So we've seen some of the ways in which BGR is confronting the problem, alleviating the problems of hunger and poverty and lack of education and dire need around the world and locally. And we've also seen the need, how much need there truly is. And as was mentioned earlier more than once, part of our practice is, part of our intention is not to turn away. Is to really continue to be present for the need and to know that the potential for goodness that we've been talking about all afternoon can only be fulfilled when there is the funding for that. It's fulfilled by your giving, by your contributions, just as Bhante said, just as Kim said, just as the other folks who are the recipients explained. So it's very important that you remember that your donations are what bring the seeds to the farmers, what bring the food to the plates of those kids, what brings the shelter to people in need. These are the folks who need your help and can benefit from your contributions, your financial support. And so I just want to close my part of the day today by talking a little bit about the Buddhist teaching on this. So the Buddha gave many, many teachings on giving, which makes sense because he spoke about greed as one of the fundamental problems of humanity, and giving is one of the ways, developing a heart of generosity is one of the ways that we practice with that tendency. But to frame it in another way, perhaps in a bigger picture way, the Buddha also said that all things are passing through our hands. There is nothing that we can hold on to. Nothing, not people, not things, not even places to speak of. So for us, I suggest that the question is more about how that passing through our hands can happen in a wholesome way, that we can choose to allow those resources, those things to pass through our hands in a way that benefits the world, that helps uplift people, that helps to nourish people. So I ask you to consider that. I know that Mary Helen has been sharing the link to the page, the BuddhistGlobalRelief.org page. And I want to thank everyone who has already given during this particular fundraising season, but also in past years to make it possible for us to be doing this work that we're doing right now. So with that, I want to pass it on to Bhante for a closing meditation and a blessing chant for the end of our event today. And again, thank you all for coming, for being here, for the good work that you are doing in your hearts and in your communities, and in so many ways. When you help BGR, you help the whole world. So thank you.
One of the ways that I found personally inspires me and motivates me to continue the kind of work that Buddhist Global Relief has been doing is to use my meditation on loving kindness and compassion to take as the object for developing the practice of loving kindness and compassion, to take groups of people in the projects that Buddhist Global Relief sponsors, and then reflect on the impact of these projects on the lives of those people, trying to imagine that I am myself a beneficiary of the project, living in one of those countries or those communities that's receiving assistance through the BGR projects. So we can do the meditation in that way. And I will give it as a very brief guided meditation. So first, take a comfortable but firm meditation position. It's only going to be a short meditation, so you don't have to cross the legs in lotus position. And then close your eyes. Settle into the felt sense of the body. Be mindful of a few rounds of in and out breathing. Okay, now move your mind to Cambodia. And you are a girl, maybe a teenage girl, who's been in school, finished elementary school, about to start high school. And there's pressure from your family for you to drop out of school and to start working, because you're in a very, very poor family. Maybe the father is gone. You have a few younger brothers and sisters. And so you feel pressure to drop out of school. But now a project comes along which is offering your family rice support and other food support on condition that they allow you to continue in school. And so now you're able to continue in high school, and you do very, very well in high school. You get very, very good grades, enough to qualify you for college. And now a follow-up project comes along, which is willing to provide you scholarship and food assistance for you to go on to college. You can study perhaps medicine to become a nurse or doctor, to study business, to become a businesswoman, to study social work, to become a social worker. And this, if you consider your origins, would have been utterly unexpected, inconceivable, but now it's become real. So just put your mind in the mind of that girl and dwell on that just for a few moments, feeling the joy, the happiness of this opportunity that's opened up for you. Okay, next scene, we move to Kenya in East Africa. And you are a woman farmer. In Africa, maybe more than 50% of the farmers, the small-scale farmers, are women. The climate has been changing over the past decade. The soil is different from the way it was in the past. Rainfall is much less than it was in the past. And so it's much more difficult than formerly to grow sufficient crops to support your family and to have a surplus to sell on the market. But now you learn of a program which is being conducted by an agricultural, it's called bio-intensive agricultural method in Kenya, which is giving instruction to farmers in this new type of ecologically sustainable agriculture. And so you apply to learn these techniques, you study them, you learn them, you come back to your farm and you apply the techniques. And now you can grow an abundance of crops. You have a lot to feed your family and enough of a surplus to sell on the market to earn money for other purposes. So place yourself in the mind of that farmer and rejoice in their good fortune. Okay, now move your mind all the ways over to Haiti, the island of Haiti. And you are a child in Haiti. And in 2010, there was a very powerful earthquake that struck near the capital of Port-au-Prince. Many, many people were killed. And in that earthquake, your father was killed. And your mother survived. but it's very, very difficult to receive sufficient food. But then you learn that there is a church a short distance away, which is being sponsored by an organization in the US called the What If Foundation, which is a partner of Buddhist Global Relief. And they are providing every day nutritious, substantial midday meals to children who lost either both parents or one parent in the earthquake. And so you walk the distance to that distribution center, to that meal center. You wait online. You receive a plate heaped up with rice, with lentils, with vegetables, very delicious and substantial. And you sit at a table with other children in the same circumstances. And you even have enough to bring a portion back to provide to your mother. So place yourself for a few moments in the mind of that child. And then come to the city of Detroit in the United States, where you're living in a poor family. Again, you always have difficulty obtaining sufficient food. In your neighborhood, there are no real decent food markets, but you have to buy junk food from a kind of convenience store. And then you learn of an organization in Detroit called Keep Growing Detroit, which conducts programs and courses on how to convert neighborhood vacant plots of land, to convert them into community gardens. And so you go with some of your friends to take this course with Keep Growing Detroit. You learn the techniques, and then together you find a vacant plot of land and you turn it into a garden in which you can grow abundant vegetables for your family and to share with other neighbors. And so rejoice in this accomplishment. Okay, now come back to the felt sense of your body. Take a few deep in and out breaths. And then you can open your eyes now. Okay, I want to just conclude this function this afternoon with a little story. Because sometimes the question comes up in people's mind that there's so much hunger in the world, so many people afflicted with hunger and malnutrition. They say something like, 800 million people face constant food insecurity. 6 million people every year die from malnutrition or illnesses connected with malnutrition. So we can't solve all of the problems of hunger and malnutrition. But what we can do is to reach out and to help even a small number of people. But through the work of Buddhist Global Relief, now over 12 years, we've probably reached and helped tens of thousands of people. So I would say that this is a cause for all of us to rejoice in the work that we've been doing, and for all of the people who have been contributing to Buddhist Global Relief to rejoice in the impact that their donations have had on the lives of others. And so just to conclude, I want to thank everybody who has contributed to this event that we've held today, especially Aya Dhammadeepa, who's taken the lead in organizing it, Kim Behan, who is, I call her the live wire of Buddhist Global Relief, who's always full of energy and ideas, and Mary Helen, who has been the technical assistant, not only today, but in many ways helping with our technical work. And I'd like to thank the representatives from the other Buddhist organizations in Berkeley who have contributed, and all of you who have joined the program this afternoon. And so I want to end just with a short blessing, calling upon the blessing power of the three jewels, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, to assist all of us and to uphold us and protect us, particularly in this time of the danger of the COVID pandemic. Bhavatu sabba mangalang, rakantu sabba devata, sabba buddhanubhavena, sada soti bhavantu te. Bhavatu sabba mangalang, rakantu sabba devata, sabba dhammanubhavena, sada soti bhavantu te. Bhavatu sabba mangalang, rakantu sabba devata, sabba sanganubhavena, sada soti bhavantu te. Okay, thank you, and all blessings be with you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you so much, Bhante. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Mary Helen. Our event is concluding now, and so thank you everyone who has attended. May y'all be well.
Thank you, Aya. Thank you, Venbos and Dharma friends. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, everyone. I will end the meeting for everyone now, unless someone has one more thing to say.